Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Winding Road
Podcast.
That is my first ever guest. It's bright outside. I got to put my glasses back on, guys. Well, my very first guest ever here on the Winding Road Podcast is Miss Darcy Kriegsman. Welcome, Darcy.
Hello, I have to keep my eyes on the road, so I may not be glancing over there much.
Yes, of course, understand.
There's someone in my car, very important to me, and then there's Gary.
Yes, we do have a cat traveling with us today. We sure do.
Meow.
Give us your best meow, would you?
Meow. Meow.
Oh, sounded like a sick cat. No. But anyways, Darcy's with us here today on the Winding Road Podcast. I do want to try to start having some guests on here, just riding around, talking about life. And Darcy's a renowned actress. She's been an actress for a very long time. She's been in many different plays, several roles in movies as well. So we're going to talk about that.
Independent movies.
Yeah, you know.
Short films.
Don't sell yourself short,
feature
though.
length.
Don't sell yourself short. You've had a nice acting career so far, and maybe you'll have more roles someday.
I brought someone else onto my acting career too.
Yes. I've been in a couple movies now. Thank you very much for that. And it's fun.
You did the rest.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I whenever you first got me that first role, we're practicing and everything. And I found it very easy then to really dive into my character because there's not all those outside distractions. Then whenever I got to the actual set and everything, I found it a little more challenging because you got so much going on around you. And then not even that, it was more so the doing things out of order, and it was like you do one scene, but now maybe only even a part of that scene. So then building up that emotions, because there's a couple times where it got very intense. So trying to build that up based on nothing that was done before. You're already like, we're shooting out of order. I'm not really sure or understand why they do that. Because I wanted to build up. You want to go into a little bit about why they go out of order and everything?
Well, to my knowledge, it has to do a lot with who's available. The talent, meaning the actors, that's what they call us talent, might only be available for this day. Maybe you're hiring a guy from Missouri to come in and he's only available for that day, so you have to film his scenes. Maybe the venue that you've chosen to shoot that scene is only available. Maybe it's a public venue and you had to get special permission, so it may only be available these certain days. Maybe the props, maybe you have some things like cars, some bigger props that movies use, might only be accessible to you a certain day or time. So that many times is the reason. It has to, what happens is the director divides up the movie into smaller segments, scenes, and then they have to look over everything they've got to shoot and put it all in some sort of semblance of organization in terms of how they want to shoot the movie, even if it's out of order. They'll put it in order later on. But a segue to that is my first community theater role. We rehearsed the same way. We rehearsed the scenes on the nights that the director wanted to rehearse, and they may not necessarily start from page 1 and go to page 100. So that was very difficult for me because I was rehearsing Act 1. Now tomorrow we're doing Act 3 for whatever reason. Again, availability much of the time. Now we're going back to Act 2, and it was very difficult to keep up with. You didn't know what was happening.
Yeah. Did you find that you forgot your lines whenever that was going on? Because for me, I felt like I had my lines down, and then it's like, hey, we're going to start on page 4. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, crap, I don't know my lines because I guess I had just rehearsed them all in order, and I'm having to start in the middle of them here. And all of a sudden, I'm forgetting my lines,
Exactly. So you have to know all of your lines and the lines around your lines. So basically, Like in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, there were 4 of us all on stage at the same time. That's the entire cast. And if someone gets off track, the rest of the cast need to know where to pick up to help get you back on track. So you basically have to somewhat know all the other actors' lines as well, because you can't just wait for your cue word to go, because if they use a different word or they forget that particular part of the line, you got to know what's happening and what to do. So,
Did you find that you ever ad-lib lines or different words, that maybe weren't exactly on the script? And if you did do that, how did the directors take that? Were they okay with that? I mean, obviously they're probably all going to be a little bit different. How did that go for you?
Well, that's a good question. I was trained in my early community theater career. I was performed for 12 years, leading and supporting roles. And Mary Boyle, rest her soul, she taught me word perfect, which means she wanted us to do the line exactly as it said. She said this very important thing is, if the playwright wanted it said a different way, he would have written it that way. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, there are other directors who are more loosey-goosey, and they're like, if you get the semblance of the sentence and it doesn't take away from the action or what's happening in the scene, that's fine, because fact is the audience members don't have the script, so they don't know when we've gotten off or we've done a little improv. Sometimes it's necessary to improv because something happens that's not in the script, like things fall off the wall. Oh, honey, you need to do stronger nails over here, and I might have to go over there. I might have to add that line because of something that happens. So yeah, there is a little bit of improv. The directors may or may not wish for you to use a whole lot of license with improvisation, and you'll know that from having most plays take, like, from audition to the closing curtain, almost 2 solid months. So you'll know whether you can get away with those kinds of things with your director.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking about it, coming from a writer's standpoint. It's like, okay, I'm the one who wrote the script. So yes, am I going to be expecting my actors and actresses to, get it down? Yes. And maybe there's certain times where it's like, no, okay, you said a different word. I think this word has stronger emotions. Let's do that again. Yes. But then with that same thing being said with the words and emotions, it's like, yeah, we're going for the emotion. So it's like, yeah, even though you might have changed a couple things here or there, it's like, man, did you bring out the emotion of that we needed that scene to have? So I think I would be a little bit lenient, even though, I would be the one who wrote it. If you don't say a couple words right here and there, I don't think I'd be so concerned about it. I think you just kind of got to treat every scene differently. And, if like, okay, yeah, all right, big deal. You said that word different. It's all good because you captured the emotion that we were going for in that scene. But it's kind of funny, you talk about stuff falling off the wall and everything. I mean,
sets could fall apart. Your scene partner could drop something. You have to pick, things like that can happen.
I want you to tell us.
Their skirt could come apart. You could have a costume malfunction. That happens.
Well, let's talk about your one of your first plays that you ever did. Tell us the story about, well, you know what story. I'll just let you tell the story here of something that happened and you guys rolled with it, and then you even used what had happened that night before. The next night when you're doing the play again, you took what had happened that first night and you incorporated it into that second night. Would you mind telling us that story?
You must be referring to the Miller Senior Center, where when I was about 20, I played the role of Sophie Roschmeyer in Star Spangled Girl, Neil Simon. And let's just say the stage wasn't all put together very properly. We had some wood panels nailed from below up onto the stage where there were holes.
And this was a high school play, right? Where they...
No. This was a community dinner theater. We actually, as actors, the three of us actors, there's three of us in the show.
I thought you were...
actually served chicken cacciatore that night. It was a dinner theater.
Okay, I thought you had... somebody had asked you to come back and play. It was for high school or something.
That was my high school drama coach. Called me in college.
Yeah.
And said, Darcy, would you like to play Sophie Roschmeyer in Star Spangled Girl? And I said, well, yeah.
All right. So anyways, back to the story.
So that night, my scene partner, his character was Andy. He was in love with me and had shackled himself to a fence. And he put his suitcase in a spot he wasn't supposed to, so I had to walk on a spot I wasn't supposed to that had a wood panel nailed up onto it. My leg fell right through. It's not funny.
It's very funny.
My leg fell through completely up to my hip, scraping my side of my femur all the way down, leaving a 6-inch wide and about a 1+ foot long bruise on the side of my thigh. For months it lasted, but when it happened, what can you do? The show must go on. So I popped back up and I said, I don't even know how I got myself out of the hole, because everyone was stunned, including my two scene mates, going, what's happening? What are we going to do? And I popped up and I said, you guys live in a pigsty. And then I just went on with my line, whatever line I could think of at the time. And people in the audience, including my own family members, great Uncle John and Aunt Juanita, said they thought that was part of the show. Then the next night, I had this huge hematoma starting now on my thigh from the night before.
Owie, Mom.
The story, if you don't know it, is about Sophie Roschmeyer from Raleigh, North Carolina. I think she's from Raleigh. She's Southern. She's an Olympic swimmer. So she was at the YMCA practicing swimming. And when Andy, her neighbor who was obsessed with her, came in and was like trying to walk towards her, and she's got so frantic and frazzled she was walking away from him. I said, and you got me so nervous, I slipped, and look what you did. And I had a swimsuit on at the time because I'm an Olympic swimmer.
Right.
And I pulled my swim cover off, and there was my bruise, and you could hear the audible from the audience. But frankly, it was a bruise I couldn't cover with anything, and the scene called for me to be in a swimsuit because I'm an Olympic swimmer, and I looked really good in that swimsuit. So that's what happened, and the show went on, and then I went on to remember that night that I fell through the stage. For the next 4 to 5 months I had that bruise on my leg. Wow. It was a long time.
Yeah, that's just kind of funny because I noticed, you're going back into the character as you talk about it, and the couple 2-3 movies that I've been in so far, I in months now, and even a year or so has passed since my first role, I still am able to remember so many of those lines. It's like it becomes ingrained in you, and then you can go, you jump right back into those characters. Is that something you found, because you obviously have a lot more experience than I do, is that something you find yourself doing every now and then, like you're diving back into those characters and remembering some of those same lines, and then does that transport you back in your mind? Obviously probably does transport you right back to where you were doing it many years ago.
What you find out are the parts like monologues, long huge monologues with paragraphs. Those are what you remember because you practice the hardest on those in your psyche. So I could do, excuse me, Mr. Cornell, I have tried to be neighborly, I have tried to be friendly, and I've tried to be cordial. I don't know what it is you're trying to be. The first night, I was appreciative that you carried my trunk up the stairs. The fact that it slipped and fell 5 flights and smashed to pieces was not your fault. I didn't even mind the personal little messages you painted on the stairs. And I thought it was sweet, but I don't understand Italian.
Wow.
And I can do very well without you watching me get on the bus every day with that high-powered telescope. You got me so nervous the other day, I got on the wrong bus. And I can do without you putting little chocolate almond Hershey bars in my mailbox. They melted yesterday, and now I've got 3 gooey letters from home with nuts in them.
That's like word for word. That just amazes me. Oh, you want to keep going. I sense you want to keep going.
Well, there's another line in that she says, and lastly, basically, I can do very well.
Apologies, folks. We hit a bump, knocked our camera down.
In short, Mr. Cornell, and I don't want to have to say this again, leave me alone. And Andy's reply, well, aside from that, is there anything else you don't like about me? And I was like,
so how long did it take you, on these, your major roles in plays, you had a lot of leading roles. How long did you study the script before that, by yourself? And then how long, how many opportunities did you have to go over it with the other people that were in your scenes and in the plays? Just take us through that process of what it takes to get all those lines down. Take us from the beginning, when you get the role, to going on stage and then performing it for a couple weeks at a time. Take us through that.
Well, you have what's first called a table read after everybody is cast. It's a way of all the actors to get to know who's in each role. You get acclimated and oriented to the script. You read it through. You ask any questions you might have about it or your character that you're playing. And then, again, you're kind of like a tight-knit family because you're going to see these people 4 to 5 days a week initially, every evening, practicing from 6 to 9 sometimes, 7 to 10 sometimes, 2-3 hours at a time, every rehearsal. And you're many times directors divide it up and say, this is what we're rehearsing this day, and you get a syllabus, so to speak. And so you could focus on those particular scenes, do it chunks at a time. My style is I try to memorize. You want to get what's called off book. So usually the director will give you a date. Usually it's about maybe midway through, maybe after the first month. They want you to know all of your lines. And you want to be off book. Now, if you forget something, you can yell line. Of course, you can't do that during performances.
Off book just means that you know the script by that point. You don't need the
book. You're
off
obviously. Your script.
Yeah, okay.
You don't need it in front of you.
Gotcha. So a month to study, learn the lines.
It depends on the desires of the particular director and assistant director, what they want for their cast. So then we're off book, but we might be in rehearsals where there's going to be some gaps while people are trying to focus on what their line is supposed to be, and that's okay because we're not performing it yet. Mm-hmm. Again, if you get too stuck, you can yell line, and usually the stage manager or one of the directors will give you the line. Usually the directors are watching us, so that's why you have a stage manager and assistant director to help you with giving lines and watching the script and making sure we're on target. So usually then toward that last month, everybody's got their lines. They should. You pretty much know the people that don't, and you're like, they better get their lines because we're all in it together, and we're going to all perform this scene, and everyone's part needs to function accurately to make it good. We're only as good as the weakest link, or in this case, weakest actor who's failed to memorize their lines, and not everyone is good at it. There are folks that have had to actually, older folks I've noticed when I've seen some shows, that take their notes up there with them, take their lines with them in some sort of binder that maybe their character has. But you can tell if someone's using cheat sheets to remember their lines. So hopefully you've got a crew, a cast that everyone's professional, we know our lines, then we're pretty much good to go. Then toward the last 2 weeks, that's the intense rehearsal, because we're going to have now the full set is going to be built on stage. We have to now act with props, with the set, with our marks. We got to strike our marks, which are the places we're supposed to stand on stage, and for what's called the action that we do, and where our movements are going. We have to pair all of that with our lines, with our facial expressions, our postures, our actions, with our body language. So we're putting all that together, formulating with our costuming. Maybe you've got then Hell Week, which is the last week. They call it Hell Week because pretty much why they would call a fraternity initiation phase Hell Week. So it's a lot going on, but you got to have everything in place. You're practicing every night with the full brunt of all the aspects of the play, including lighting. Now you've got lighting and sound people coming in, and they need to know the lines. They need to know their cues for the lighting, for the sound. So you've got all these extra people involved. So that's why us actors on stage need to know exactly what we're doing, because they're focusing on everything else, costuming, everything else that wraps it up and makes it all magical.
So how long is that whole process? You said about a month for just getting your lines down, and then you guys spend a few weeks practicing together, and then a couple more weeks in Hell Week. So is it like a two months or so? Or
well, yeah, I said from the start of casting to the point where your last curtain on that Sunday matinee, it's about 2 solid weeks, 2 solid months of your life that you have dedicated.
Yeah. Now you talked about
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah. And it's incredible. I mean, I always find it just so fascinating. I mean, I've been in love with live theater since I was a little kid, and my mom taking me to plays and everything. It was just really amazing. I mean, there's nothing like it. That's why I love sports and I love live theater. So I'm a huge pro wrestling fan, as you know. But it was it just amazed me how they could go up there and remember so many different lines. Now as I've done some live performances and stuff in professional wrestling. Yeah, I don't know. It's come a lot easier than maybe I thought it would. Now, granted, I'm not having to memorize whole entire books like you have, but I'm going through a whole segment of what I need to know what I'm saying and everything. But I think I found it's like once you know it, and you're not worried about getting saying exactly verbatim. You know what you need to say. And then you just go say it. It's like it's ingrained in you. At least for me, at that point, it's not like I'm going over in my head what I remembered, and I'm not worried about trying to remember everything, because I just got it down by that point, and then it just comes off naturally. And I think that's what makes the best acting. You can tell when people are trying to remember their lines or what they're supposed to say. I mean, you could tell. I think.
Well, and it ruins the whole illusion of the story that you're immersed in at that moment with live theater.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, live theater is my first love, but my background is largely in dance theater. That's how I started, because I've been dancing since I was 5. I've been in several performing dance companies. That is all live theater, and it's everything except the script. I'm doing facial expression, I'm conveying emotion and it through my movement across the stage. So that, I think, gave me a huge leg up in terms of being able to perform straight plays, we call them.
Yeah, because
straight play is not a musical. It's called it's a stage play. So straight plays is what I'm most familiar with and have the most experience. I have been in a quasi-musical because the director added song numbers and dance numbers.
What's a quasi? What's that mean?
Not really a musical, but the director added dances and songs.
Okay.
So, I've been in 2 different shows where the different directors did this, and they took creative license only because those playwrights were already passed.
So quasi means like kind of, sort of, not really.
Fake.
Yeah.
Kayfabe.
Kayfabe, as they would use in the wrestling business. No, because I was going to ask. Go ahead.
But again, if the the rule of thumb would be if the directors were alive. Oh, and we're crossing a state line right now.
Yes, we are on the winding road. We are going out of Colorado and into Kansas here.
Toot.
We've seen one shoe so far on the winding road. We'll let you know if we see any other things that are fascinating. I do want to talk about favorite states, and because we're on a visit to Colorado, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay, so I was in shows since I was in 3rd grade. My first part was Mom.
3rd grade, wow.
And John Knight played my husband, even though he was a year younger. He was 7 as opposed to 8. Or no, he was 8 as opposed to 9. And then our daughter, Melissa Ringel, she was 8 in his class. We were up on stage at McKinley School, grade school, and it was a play about how our daughter wasn't washing her face. So I actually was part of the makeup in this situation. We helped put dirt on her face, and then we glued little plants growing out of her face. It was hilarious. And then years later, I look back and I'm like, they had me in a basic hygiene performance. That's what it was. It was teaching the kids to wash their face, or it'll get dirty and plants and things will grow out of it. So basically, I was in my first PSA stage play for McKinley grade school.
So how did you, that was 3rd grade. How did you figure out that you had an interest in things like that, or was it something your parents kind of were like, hey, or was it something that they were interested in? Or
my teacher, Mrs. Beard, said, Darcy, I'd like you to do this role.
But I mean, did you know that you were interested in stuff like that before that point, or was that the moment where you were like, okay, somebody said I should do this, and then you thought it was a lot of fun, and then it just turned into everything else?
No, my main interest was still in dance, and so then I was in pom-poms.
So it was dance before 3rd grade and all that.
Oh yeah,
yeah, okay.
Dance, and then I did pom-poms in high school, and then it was in high school. I wasn't in any other plays all those years until I was a junior, and I tried out and got the role as, I think it was Judith Bickle in A Man Called Peter. I was this very stuffy, snobby aunt. And it was a real man. It was based on a real man who was a minister, and it was called A Man Called Peter, and it was a drama, but I got hooked, and the gal who played my sister, and we were both the old angry aunts, she went on to be Miss Illinois, Lisa Heusner, and she was always top in class in speech. So a lot of the kids I performed in high school with, I was in 3 plays in high school, they were all speech members. And they were also in a performing dance company, or a performing musical performance team. It was co-ed, and they sang and danced, but I couldn't do that because I was already in pom-poms. They only allowed people in that group called Notables to only be exclusively in their group. They weren't allowed to do any other extracurriculars. So I never did get in that group, which I think that would have been a really good experience if I would have been able to sing and dance in that group.
So it was kind of the dance that early on, you were already kind of in that scene, if you will, so you knew you liked to dance, and in the 3rd grade.
Dance. They knew I liked to dance when I was 5. That's why they enrolled me in ballet and acrobatics.
So from a very young age, it was performance arts.
I was hyper. They had to get me out of the house and expend my energy. Yes. To this day, I go to Zumba class. People are like, "What do you eat for breakfast?"
What do you eat for breakfast?
Before I go there, I just have applesauce. That's all I eat.
Applesauce. All right.
And coffee. So
applesauce and coffee, folks. There you go.
They're always like, what does she have for breakfast? But anyway, then when I was in college, it was after my sophomore year in college that I got a call from my high school drama coach, Glenn Smith, with 2 N's, Glenn. And he was a hoot. Everybody loved Mr. Smith. He called me and asked me to play Sophie Roschmeyer, and I was like, oh yeah. So I guess I was just bringing it back to that point. So I was, let's say, 20 at the time.
Uh-huh.
Flash forward 25 years later, And that's when I was looking to do something different. And I had written funny stories about things that happened to me personally, and I was going to write a stand-up act. I just thought, I want to just do stand-up. So I researched what was available in my community, and there was a group called Community Floss. And they were stand-up people who did stand-up comedy. So I did make contact briefly with them, but I never did meet them or get that going. But at that same time, I was driving down the strip of our town, the main road. I looked up at the marquee of the Varsity Theater, and it said, "Now auditioning, Leading Ladies." And I looked on my phone and found out Leading Ladies was a comedy. And I was like, I love comedy.
Yeah.
And I do shows. I've done plays. So I went in off the street, I auditioned, and I got the lead role of Leading Ladies.
Incredible.
And which I didn't know I would, because the director was kind of really stern, and he was like, at the end of our auditions, he goes, "Okay, that's it. All right, bye." And I was like, "What? Wait, what? Well, what happens now?" And I was walking out with the gal who ended up getting cast with me, and she knew how it all worked. She'd been raised in that community theater, and she said, "Oh, it's okay." I go, "Was it like, don't call me, we'll call you?" She's like, "Oh yeah." She goes, "But you did really well." I just took it for what she said and went on, and then I got a call that I got the role. And so I was like, oh my gosh. So that was my reintroduction a whole quarter of a century later. And then I went on for 12 more years performing in about as many roles or more, and had a great time with that community theater company.
Yeah. I want to shift to the movie aspect of it.
Oh yeah.
Too here in a moment, but I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned stand-up comedy. Like, I've written a stand-up comedy act, but man, it's like it does go back to, I'm getting more comfortable with remembering lines and everything like that. But I don't know what's holding me back from trying it out on an open mic night, if it's remembering everything or if it's, worrying about offending people. Because, to be honest with you, my
He's
set,
quite offensive.
My set could kind of be offensive, but that's what comedy is, like, you're not
uncomfortable.
You got it's got to be uncomfortable. It's got to have truth to it, but it's, but you want to offend everybody, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Equal opportunity offender, like Jay Leno. I saw him live in Vegas. He totally made fun of every group, so no one should be offended. We were all offended. And I think get over it.
Yeah, I think that starts with being able to make fun of yourself first. If you're able to make fun of yourself, and then I think people, especially maybe if I'm going to do that for the first time, maybe that's where you start, is by making fun of yourself, and then that could lead, maybe that allows you to loosen up a little bit, and maybe allows you, at least in your mind, for you to think that, the crowd is like, oh, okay, well, this guy's up there, crapping on himself, and, and the next thing you know, you're crapping on whoever you want to make jokes about, and maybe that would ease the tension a little bit. I don't know. I'm starting to think about that and how I might approach that if and when I ever decide to do that stand-up act. And I think the way I've written it, it would work pretty much even if I let years go by. I think it would still work with the way I've written it. And honestly, I think if you want stuff to last the tale of time or whatever, to hold up and not just be so specific, like, man, can you do that? Can you write something that would 20 years later, 10 years later, people can still relate to? Or was it so specific for that time period, that it's, people 10, 20 years aren't going to get it because you were too, I'm not saying that's a bad thing that people, write to specific things of what's going on, because obviously that makes great comedy, things like Saturday Night Live and all that, or just people doing their comedic sets and talking about, there is certainly an aspect of that where, yes, you talk about what's going on now, people are going to relate to that. But I think even more so when you look at some of the greatest comics throughout history and you go back and watch them, you could still laugh at almost every single one of their jokes because they focus on the human nature aspect of it.
Yeah,
I think
which
more
never
than anything.
changes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always
exactly.
static.
So I think I
From
don't
the
know.
dawn of time, we are what we are.
Yeah, so I just think it's interesting. To me, I think that's how I would try to approach it, is by sticking with the human nature, just so maybe it holds up over time. But I was just curious if that's something that you ever considered doing again, doing, because that's what you had initially thought, and then it led to these plays. You ever thought about going back and doing stand-up or anything?
I have all those notes still all together.
Awesome.
All the crazy stuff that's happened, like the time I got fitted for a bike, and it was the 2 fingers technique to fit you on a bike seat. Yeah, you'll have to come to my stand-up show to hear about that. But I often think about that. But people say they go, you could do stand-up, you do it every day. That's what they say. So, hey, I have a lot of fun. I goof off during the day, make myself laugh, make him laugh. Sometimes I make him cry, or worse. But I think laughter is universal. I think it heals. I love laughing. I've learned to laugh a lot in my family. We just break out in gut laughs constantly. Right?
Oh, yeah.
He was with my family this past week.
And so you were talking about, being able to laugh throughout the day and have a good time. And I think it's just so important, to not, just not worry about little things, that we turn into big things. I just think that, there's an age-old adage of laughter being, just such a healing mechanism, and, the science and all that behind all that makes total sense. And I just think that's so important to not take ourselves so seriously all the time, or if any of the time. I'm certainly trying to be a businessman, and I got a lot of things that I'm trying to accomplish, but rarely, if ever, I think, do I take myself so too serious. I just try to be happy-go-lucky and work towards the goal, not so focused on the end result of it, but just focused on the task at hand. But we're all going to screw up along the process of trying to figure that out. And I think it's in focusing on the screw up parts where we slow ourselves down. I think we can acknowledge them, certainly, to say, okay, well, that wasn't right the way I did that. How do I figure out a way to be better at it next time, but without dwelling on the negative of what went wrong? We just use it as, okay, yep, all right, let's figure that out, and then you just keep going, man. And I think that's so important, to laugh along the way and laugh throughout as you go about that process and whatever you're trying to accomplish in your life. But we talked a lot about your on-stage acting career, and you said that is your first love, because that was going to be one of my questions.
Well, live theater is my first love in terms of acting, like on film.
Yeah. Where does that compare?
So easy. Well, if you in Hollywood,
or how does that compare?
It's known that in Hollywood, those actors, most of them, and this isn't a generalization, would be terrible on stage because they have to actually memorize their lines. In these movies and shows and series the way they are, you could stop the camera if someone flubs up. You can't stop live theater and say, close the curtain and say, we're going to start again. No, you can't do that.
No, you cannot.
But you can do that, and that's why they say many Hollywood actresses wouldn't even be able to survive on live theater, stage plays or musicals. Many of them are musically inclined. That's because they have a background in dance and singing and acting. They have what's called the triple threat.
I can certainly see what you're saying with that for sure. But then there's people like you, obviously, that that's where they got their start, and then they go on, and then it's probably a lot easier, at least from terms of knowing what they're saying whenever, and that might make them even better actresses, those people that came from that, from live theater at first, because it's easy for them to get their lines down. It's so easy, so they've already got them memorized. So it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where they get them things memorized quick, and then boom, it's not like they're trying to remember it, and that separates them, I think, from the other people who looks like they're on there and they're just trying to remember what they're saying. Like they already know what they're saying, so then they're focused on the emotion. Is that the same thing for you that you found out once you made that transition into movies and everything?
No, I realized you had to adjust your whole acting being, because you don't need to yell to project to the last seat. You don't need to overexpress your eyes and your facial expressions so the person in the last row can see what you're expressing. So I had to tone it, I had to pull it way back, and for me it's very hard because I'm very expressive. So when I went to my first audition for my first movie ever, which I was in my 20s, and my mentor had mentioned it because their friend had a friend who's a movie maker. They said, he's doing this feature-length film locally. Why don't you go audition? So I did. And they were auditioning with a camera, of course, because it was for a movie. But I wasn't used to having a camera right here in front of my face. So it was a little different adjusting. And they had to tell me to, pull it back. Because I wasn't on stage, and they knew that because they had just seen me in the directors had seen me in my first play, so they knew I was new at that. So yeah, I had to learn how to do all that differently. The waiting around process is a lot different. You hardly even have rehearsals sometimes in a lot of these short movies that you're in. You might meet all of your scene mates that day that you're shooting, so you don't have 2 months to formulate rapport with one another as a big acting family. No, these are strangers you just met, and they're your husband that you're playing the scene with. So it's a lot different. I like it because it's a lot more time effective. It doesn't involve a lot of time. Right. You just go, do it, shoot it, and leave. You don't spend night after night in a cold, dark theater in the summer wishing you were outside. So there's a big difference. And you had to adjust, yes.
So, what would you say are the biggest challenges in acting on stage versus the biggest challenges in acting in films?
Well, on stage would be you just never know about the audience. The audience plays a part in energy for the cast members.
Oh, yeah.
If we have an audience that's not responding to our lines, I mean, we're going to wonder what's going on. Sometimes, like the older audiences on a Sunday matinee, they might be a little more subdued because they're older. So we might just have to bump up our lines more so they can hear.
Well, and then you got to find that. Then you got to create your own energy, right?
Yeah, so we can get those lines out in a way that's conducive to what we're conveying in that scene. But
let me ask you a question before I forget. I was thinking about this earlier. Do most on-stage plays, do they not have anybody mic'd up usually? I mean, I guess like Broadway, do they have people mic'd up
it depends
in the bigger theater and stuff?
On the theater house. I mean, the company, it may be a smaller theater where you just need to project your voice. You don't need to be mic'd up.
I'm just curious.
Mostly musicals, I've noticed they're always mic'd up.
Right.
And in larger theaters for stage plays, they're probably mic'd up, but
I would guess on Broadway, huh?
They're all mic'd up. But in our plays, we just had to project. We were a small company, we don't have a lot of money, and we just have to use our voice to make sure everyone hears us and enunciate. And then when you're giving a line, make sure your head has to be positioned so the words are going towards the audience, because if you're turned around, they're not going to hear what you're saying.
Right.
So every time we have to make sure the front of us or most of us is seen by the audience, which when I first got up there after 25-year hiatus from plays, I was terrible. It's called the blocking when you walk around, and my scene mates had to literally grab my arm and walk with me because I wasn't moving and I was staying downstage, or I was staying upstage, and so he had to have me move with him so he could talk to me and still be heard by the audience and seen. And it took a couple shows before I really felt comfortable with my movement and knew how to do the blocking, because that was had to become all reacquainted again with all the various aspects of it. There's so many.
Yeah, I found that
you've got to think of. Your costuming, how's your makeup, how's your hair, how's your lines, how's your acting, how's your prop use, how's your movement, how's your action.
Yeah, it was interesting you talk about the movement and everything, because whenever I'm just doing my segment for a wrestling show, I had everything else down, but I have to do something physical here where I have to duck a guy who comes to hit me. I got to duck that, and I got to go hit the ropes. And I was a little bit out of position. I'm kind of catty cornered, and he just gives me a little quick point. I don't think probably hardly anybody noticed it, but he gives me a quick point to make sure I'm squared up, so that whenever he knocks we were doing a toast, he knocks the shot glass out of my hand, and then boom, I'm right in position. But it's kind of funny how he kind of pushed me over, because I was close to being in the right position, but obviously I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on the lines I'm trying to deliver, and I knew what was coming next, what I was about to do. So all that's in my head. But yeah, kind of interesting how your scene mates can help get you into position without the audience, trying not to let the audience notice, that they were trying to help you. I know that can happen with lines.
Again, they don't have the script, so they don't know what you're supposed to be doing. Right. And as long as you pretend like you know what you're doing, they really have no inkling that you're not in the right spot.
Or if like you forgot a line, then they can kind of help you word it in a way to where they knew what you needed to say, but you didn't say it. So they got to try to help you. Talk about that a little bit.
Was it a critical part for the story? If it really wasn't, maybe that's fine that you blanked on a line and then you just pick up where you leave off. But the scariest time at this theater company, the only time in my acting history that I even remembered forgetting a line, because I always know my lines, I'm very good about that, was I was playing the role in You Can't Take It With You.
Why not?
An extremely popular show. And I was Grand Duchess Olga Katrina. And I was from Russia. And I was making blintzes for the family. And in fact, the whole cast is now on stage in this big table for supper. And Olga Katrina, Grand Duchess, is making blintzes, which is a Russian dish. It's like crepes. So we had these fake rolled up crepes. Well, they were kind of tortillas, I think we were using. But we were all at the table, and Grand Duchess was supposed to have a big line, and she blanked, and she sat there going like this. I was like, or she was like, and all I saw was 10 sets of eyes looking at me, because they know Darcy always knows her lines.
Yeah.
We're not going to help her.
Yeah.
We don't even know what her line is. We're going to let her just struggle.
Oh, no.
So I was like, it seemed like an hour, but I'm sure it just was a matter of moments before it came to me, and I was able to say my line. Oh my God, thank you, Lord. But that was a scary moment, because no one even lifted a finger to help me. They were all just looking at me, depending on me to know the line, because I always know lines, but I didn't. But I finally came up with it, and that was a scary moment. Her, interestingly, Grand Duchess, she was a really pleasant part of the final act of that show, but she only comes on page 78 of an 80-page play. So I was only on for 3 pages of lines.
So let me ask you, how did you make it look to where you didn't, was it a part where you could have been like, or something?
No, I did the head bump. I was bobbing my head because she was talking like this, and my scene mate said, I thought you were having a stroke.
Oh my.
And I said, why didn't you do something? If you thought I was having a stroke, because my head was bobbing, and I was just waiting for a cast member to help bail me out, but no one did. So
it was probably, in that instance, probably noticeable, because it wasn't like a part where maybe you're frustrated or something like that. Because I think it would be easy if you forget your line, if it was a scene where you were angry or frustrated, to then just be like or whatever you're trying to say, and then that can help help you remember your line by having those actions of
No, the
or
only
whatever.
actions where we were sitting at the table eating blintzes and everyone's looking at me as I was telling a story. And I think what happened is because she only comes in on page 78 of an 80-page play, 77 of an 80-page play, I think we'd rehearsed that ending so few times. No one knew what my lines were.
Yeah.
They might have known all their lines earlier in the show, but no one knew what mine were. You know, I'm the only one that has to really know those. So that's what happened. And so no one knew how to get me back on track because I was the one that was supposed to be talking.
So
They probably forgot what I was even talking about, just hoping for the end of the show pretty quickly.
So all right, let's shift fully to film, and so those are some of your challenges on stage. What do you find most challenging about acting?
In general?
Yeah.
I mean, I love acting. For me, it comes it's something fun to do. I feel I'm confident with it.
So there's not. So the challenges
are few and far between. No, are the directors, their directing styles.
Okay, that makes sense.
The other scene mates I've worked with have been all pretty good people, but there's always people like maybe this actor likes to come a little bit inebriated, and so they have their own personal issues. This actor arrives at this rehearsal and they're upset about the fight they had with their girlfriend. You know, there's all sorts of drama, personal drama that us actors and actresses have that we bring to the theater that we're supposed to leave at the door before we get on stage because we're in fantasy land and we're play acting.
Well, my character was a drunk, so I could have just.
Yours was a drunk.
Yeah, I could have just been drunk. I could have totally just been drunk, but I wasn't. But I did. But I found it easier. You know, I don't really drink that much at all, really too much anymore at all. But I found it easier to because I've been drunk before, obviously. So and I know, and I've seen people that way. So it was easy for me to just get into that mode of starting to slur my speech a little bit, but slur it to the point where people could still understand what I was saying. That was an interesting challenge.
That is
to try to accomplish. Like, all right, how do I be drunk without just being inebriated to where people can't understand what I was saying, man?
First of all, it takes a lot of real life training. It takes a lot of real life training to get your drunk character down. But here's the thing I would say too: you were doing it on film, which again can be reshot if you screw up. I played a drunk character, Hermina, in
we're back to the stage.
It was called Dead Man's Cell Phone, and it was a stage play.
We're back to the stage, yes.
It's kind of a little-known stage play, but they started playing it a lot back in the, 90s. No, it was the 2010s. It started coming up as a popular show, but it's about a man who dies at a restaurant, and his cell phone is there, and a woman gets his cell phone, and after that happens, she gets a lot of calls from people like, I don't want to ruin it for you, but organ harvesters, things like that, spies. So she gets involved. This regular Jane gets involved. Well, I was the dead man's wife, Hermia was my name, and I was drunk, and I was talking like this. I was blonde, and I was told by the director, the esteemed Mary Boyle, that it's actually very difficult to play a drunk. Like, that's one of the most difficult roles to play. To play where you're selling it, so you just had to slur the right amount, and you had to make sure you're not like so sloppy that no one can hear you. But yeah, it was hard to do without actually being drunk, because you couldn't do that and know your lines. So
yeah, you don't want to be too drunk and slurring so people can't understand you, but you want to do good, and the way they can understand you, you want it to be believable. You gotta be believable.
And you gotta enunciate still so people know what you're saying.
Yeah, you only want to slur like 2 syllables. 2 syllables at a time. Holy cow! I'm into Harry Carey now. That was
you
great.
did sound just like a
That was great. One of the greatest skits, Will Ferrell doing Harry Carey on
Harry Carey.
Saturday Night Live.
It was Harry Carey. Is that how he sounds? Harry Carey.
Holy cow.
Holy cow.
Yes, yes.
Holy cow.
All right, so we talked a lot about acting and doing plays and everything like that.
Movies.
But let's talk about some other stuff. What makes Darcy Kriegsman tick, would you say?
Well, that's a trick question.
Tick.
God, family, and country.
Oh, short and sweet.
Yeah, you didn't expect that from me, did you?
No. I'm going to be honest with you, ma'am. I did not expect that from you.
What makes you tick, Gary Martin?
Love, inspire, unite. I mean,
we all have 3 answers.
Yeah, quick and easy, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's just what I think we're here to do. Is people that have been on my podcast before know that that's the goal of, and that's the purpose. I think everybody's like trying to figure out what their purpose is, and I get it. I get it.
Special purpose.
Yeah, special purposes, and I get that. I certainly understand that, and I have my own things that I do to try to accomplish what I'm working for, and thinking about what my purpose is and why we're here and all that stuff. But as complex as I like to think about things sometimes, I'm also very simple, and that it all boils back to love. And I really feel like that's our purpose, is to be here and spread as much love as we can to others, because whether we realize it or not, it's all connected. We're all connected. When you talk about energy frequencies and just everything, man, like we're in these human bodies, so it's easy for us to feel like we're disconnected from other people, other species, the stars or whatever. But we're in it. Like we're here. Yes, we're seeing these things, but that we're in it. We're inside of it. We're all part of it. It's not like we're just here and that's there. We're all inside of this cosmos, this universe, and it's all connected. And I think the best way to make more connections is by spreading love. So I would say that that's my purpose, and I mean, because the inspire and unite part of my saying is, that goes back to love. That's why love is out in front of inspire and unite, because if I have love, then that's what I'm trying to do, is inspire and unite people.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's good. I'd like to interject that there's a good book written by Rick Warren called A Purpose-Driven Life.
Okay.
And it does contain some of what he feels are answers to the question of what is my purpose. And one thing that I always remember from that book is that he believes that God actually created us for his own entertainment and joy.
Yeah.
And he gets a kick out of us. And when people say, hey, if you don't think God has a sense of humor, look at the platypus he created. And again, I believe in creation, so I believe God created all living beings on this planet. And again, we are on this
other
planet,
planets.
not of this planet.
Yes.
Possibly, we don't know. But so again, purpose-driven life is a cool one to refer to, but also I try to keep this in the forefront of everyday functioning, and that is an inspired, let's say, a calling that someone close to me had once, and they received a message which they believe 110% was from the Lord, and the message was, your sole purpose in life is to, on a daily basis, reflect God's glory. I mean, she was so stunned by this message she got out of the blue that she ran across campus. She was a professor and wrote it down before she could forget about it. And she dwelled on it. She shared it with the rest of the family. And I try to live as best I can. I know I fall short all the time. But that is apparently what I also do believe now is our purpose, to reflect God's glory.
So how do we reflect God's glory. And
Love.
You got it, because I mean, we talk, verses from the Bible that say, I think, well, does it say that in the Bible? I think it does, that God is love. So if God is love, and our purpose is to reflect God's glory, then I think that's our purpose, is to reflect love, gentleness, kindness, patience, and all those things that we as humans fail to do on a regular basis, but we can't beat ourselves up for it. It goes, back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, of the microcosm of acting and stuff, and then we were talking a little bit about life then, and just laughing and not taking things too serious. We can't beat ourselves up whenever we fail. We have to realize that, yes, if you're a Christian and you believe in Jesus, that's all that stuff was already taken care of you, taken care for you. Now, does that give you an excuse to just go about, doing whatever you want, not caring about people? No, I don't think it gives you an excuse to do that, but it does give you a place where you can have peace about whenever we fall short. We have peace knowing that was already taken care of, and so then we can just be like, okay, well, yep, screwed up that, how do I get better the next day, and how do I be better than the day before? These are cliches, but they're so daggum true. And I think the more and more we try to apply that to our lives, I think the better off we're going to be. And your best, like we say, get better every day, try to improve every day. But you're not going to wake up with the same energy. Try to do things, be healthy and everything like that. But some days your best is not going to be better than the day before. But what's your best today? And you got to try to rise up, even if you're not feeling good or if things aren't going your way, just rise up and still be your best. And I think that's what separates, the winners from the losers, if you will. I don't try to think too much in terms of, oh, hey, that guy's
You're
winning.
A loser.
Yeah. Hey, that guy's winning, or that guy's losing and I'm winning, or I'm losing and he's winning. I don't try to think about it from that aspect. But I read a book, last night, as a matter of factly, that a guy that Jim Thompson, who founded Crown Pacific, and your family had a long history in helping found that company as well, which is incredible where they got to and how your family helped start and found that. But I was finding from Jim Thompson, and it goes back to what the mindset I think that I have of whenever he was first starting out, all the different things that would come up and everything. Like you're not going to be able to prepare yourself for every little thing that's going wrong, even big things that go wrong. But it's just that drive, that passion in you, to that fear of failure. I go back to that a lot. The fear of failure, that can be a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing, because I don't accept it. I won't accept failing. It's not an option. It's not an option, no matter how many times I have to screw up to get it right. It's just not an option. And I think that's something that's been deep inside of me, to just keep driving forward, because it's just not an option, and that really motivates. And it was just three lines you said at the end of that book, talking about, for tips, and not even tips. It was just, if you're a young entrepreneur, this is kind of what I went through at the beginning. And it was just, it goes back to the mentality of never give up, and I think that's some of the things that have been instilled in me by God, or by learning, or by both over time. That's inside of me, and that drives me forward. And I mean, like I said, your family has a long history of winning and, of persevering and doing things right. What are some of the things that you learned from your dad in helping start that company, and just other things that you've learned throughout your life that have gotten you to the point that you are, where you've had a lot of success?
Well, good question. I think he was always persevered and never gave up, and he was very accomplished, and he encouraged all of us to be, and sent us all to college so we could all be as accomplished he gave us the best background so we wouldn't need to rely on the stinking man.
Yeah, on the stinking man.
Which none of us do.
Yeah.
Even though we have some nice men.
Yeah, I mean, everybody needs help along the way. That's certain, certainly. And we don't always start at the same starting point, but that doesn't mean that you can't accomplish things just because you might not have some advantages that other people have, because, I just don't think we can use those as an excuse. I mean, yes, absolutely. Is it harder for some? Yeah, of course. It's been harder for a lot of people than you and me, and it's been easier for a lot of people than you or me. So we don't always start at the same line, and we don't always have the same advantages.
No.
But that just goes back to that mentality, though, of, okay, you know what? I may have very little, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse.
If you're a beggar in the street, you're going to wake up and you're going to be the best beggar ever. You're going to get most contributions than anyone on your block. You're a successful beggar. So it doesn't matter where you are in your lot in life. Anybody, anywhere can aspire to do their best. But I think in Dad's case, what I inherited from him, that I would say stubbornness was. It can be a negative trait, but it can also help you persevere. Part of that involves perseverance. And I always completed whatever I started. If I was in a project, a dance, a show, whatever, I never quit. If I went to college, I didn't quit that college and go to a different college. If I had a relationship, I stayed with that boyfriend until, maybe we couldn't work it out. But you still give it your best. College, try. I think I saw him do that and be out there and active and try all these different opportunities in life. And it worked for him, and he taught that to his children.
Yeah.
To this day, we do go into whatever we go into with the mentality that we could do it. He taught us we could do about anything we put our heads to. Like, we're in America. Guess what? This is the greatest land of opportunity. If you want a goal, it doesn't matter where you were brought up, there's a huge possibility you're going to be able to achieve it, especially in this country. So that's what he taught us.
Yeah.
Nothing was beneath us in terms of goals.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful, and I think, the key aspect you hit on there, quitting is not an option. No, like you said, are there points where you're going to have to stop and, maybe try something else? Yes, but did you give it your best try? Yes, and then you realize you may have to pivot. You may realize that, okay, well, maybe this thing's not for me. But you don't just do that after one practice like I did. The only thing that I ever quit at I'm going to tell you a quick story on this. The only thing I ever quit at in my entire life was soccer. I went to one soccer practice as a kid, and I was like, what are we doing, running around, kicking the ball? I hated it. I absolutely hated it. So I quit after one practice. The only thing I quit at in my entire life. Now, have things come full circle, where I've involved with, I see the kids playing it now, some kids that are in my life playing it, and I'm like, okay, and then I go to watch them in person, and I'm like, well, okay, this is actually pretty
fun game,
entertaining, So that,
he was wrong the whole time.
So I'm not saying I would sit around and watch
But
hours upon hours of it.
You threw in the towel way too early. You didn't even give yourself a chance to like it.
I think it definitely happened for a reason, because that wasn't for me at the time. I ended up playing baseball, and a lot of people say baseball's boring as well. So I get it, but I think it's an important lesson to learn. Just because you go into something, there's maybe one or two things, you're noticing all the things you don't like about it. It's like, okay, but okay, let's not. It just goes back to focusing on the positives and not the negatives too. It's like, okay, but what is fun about this? And it took me a while to realize, all right, this is pretty cool. Like, it just goes to appreciating different aspects of things, I think.
I played soccer once in college and once as a community co-ed rec member of a team, and in both situations, they were 20 years apart, and in both situations, I got injured the first 5 minutes. But I kept going in, and then I'd get more injured.
Oh, no.
It was terrible. And to this day, I have some knee injuries from that because it was the same knee, I believe, that I got injured both times.
Mom.
And I had one in the last instant. I had to be carried off the field, but I wanted to go back in, but it started to swell up like a watermelon. So they're like, probably you can't do it, but I wanted to do it. So I wasn't giving up, even though I had to give up.
Yeah,
but I tried my best. So at the point I had to be carried off and then go to the hospital the next day, I realized maybe that's not the sport for me. It's the lateral movement. Apparently, women get injured in that because of our hips and the lateral movement involved.
Yeah, isn't it something though that that drive to never quit, never give up mentality though? Sometimes
it's bad for you.
Well, yeah, sometimes it's important. It's like the pitcher who you go out to visit the pitcher on the mound. And he's like, oh, you good, man? Well, 9 times out of 10, he's probably going to tell you he's good, even if he's not good. So it's important to have those people in our lives that kind of keep us in check. Like, hey, man, yeah, I know you want to keep doing this, but you're not a spring chicken anymore. You might want to think about shifting to something else before you actually truly injure yourself and get hurt. But we just want to keep holding on. I think that's in anything in life. As we keep going and keep getting older, some things you can't do anymore, or you want to do and you want to keep doing. I think a lot of that does come down to the power struggle too. Especially if you're in like business or whatever, and you realize like, okay, maybe I can't do everything that I wanted to do anymore. Maybe I should let other people help me out with that. But you hold on to that power. And I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit here and there, but that's the old Winding Road podcast for you.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean,
stick-to-itiveness is what it's called. Stick-to-itiveness.
I call it the stream of consciousness. Yeah. Stick-to-itiveness? Well, let's have a spelling bee here.
No, that's sticking with your goal.
I don't know how to spell it.
Now, the other thing is, Dad had...
Oh, stick-to-itiveness is
when you focus and you don't give up.
Opposite.
It's like being stubborn, but it's stick-to-itiveness.
Okay, you were going to say, though?
That the other quality my dad always displayed was integrity.
Huge.
With character. So if you say you're going to do something, you do it.
Yes.
You don't just tell the person, oh, I'm sorry, I know I promised I'd do that, but I'm not going to do it. He always taught follow through. That's how people build trust, is by doing what they say they're going to do.
Be impeccable with your word. Yep, one of the 4 agreements.
From those around you. And integrity, again, he was just an upstanding man who kept his word with God, if he made a promise of some kind. And so that's, I think right there was the secret to my dad's success.
Yeah, it's interesting because I totally agree with you.
And his wonderful, loving wife and family.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because there's certainly, my brain likes to play opposites then a lot of times. Because absolutely, being integrity and having integrity is huge, important. But that's not to say you can't change your mind, on something. But I think it's important then to be honest about it. Like, hey, if you said you were going to do something, if you said you're going to do it, do it. Mm-hmm. But there are certain times and instances, well, maybe you then rethink it, you think through it, and maybe like, okay, maybe this is not the best thing to me, but you need to be upfront and honest with whoever it is that you said you were going to do that for. You don't just make excuses then, like, oh, hey, well, no, I can't come do that, I'm too tired, or like, oh, no, I don't think so, never mind, and then leave it at that. No, if you said you're going to do something, explain to them why you have changed your mind.
I can't remember a single time where he said he'd show up for a pom-pom performance at a game and didn't show up.
Yeah.
They were there anytime they said they were going to be there. There was not a time he ever left us hanging with anything.
Yeah.
He was there when he promised to be. And let me ask you the same question. As you come from a successful business within your family, started by your grandma. What qualities did she have that contributed to 64 years later having the same business? How did that happen?
I mean,
what qualities did she bring to the party to make that happen for your family legacy?
Well, I mean, number one, it was just that was a dream to start the business, and just not procrastinating. Number one, I think, is maybe one of the things. I mean, I don't know, because I was so young, and I was still pretty young whenever she passed. But there's certainly qualities, whether or not I knew it, that have lasted with me. But I think it goes to one of the important qualities is not procrastination. And you don't necessarily want to tell your people about all your dreams and everything either, because if you start going around telling everybody, hey, this is my dream, I'm going to do this, and I'm guilty of that, certainly, I think we all are. Hey, I'm going to go do this, hey, I'm doing this. That creates a thing. We're talking a little bit scientific now. That can create a thing in our brain where if you tell somebody you're going to do something, your brain can take that as if it's already been done. So then that can actually slow you down in trying to accomplish your goal. So I would kind of pick few and far between who I would tell your goals to and tell your dreams to. But I think, biggest thing there was she had a dream. She didn't procrastinate on it. She told her husband, hey, I want to do this. Her husband helped her to make that happen. And I do think we need a lot of help along the way. We need some breaks to get lucky along the way. But yeah, just not procrastinating on things, and like, hey, you do it and just go do it, man. Obviously, you want to think about it first. You want to make sure you have everything laid out and mapped out. Not everything, because everything it's not going to be perfect, but you want to have it mapped out. You want to have a plan. My dad always said, plan your play and play your plan. So you want to have a plan. You want to try to put that in place. You don't just want to go, oh, hey, this is my dream, and and then run off and try to do it, and then you screw up, and then the next thing you know, you're not able to get there because you made way too many mistakes along the way because you weren't properly planning.
Or you're discouraged and you quit.
Yeah, or you're just it goes back to quitting. It goes back to that thing of just you just persevere no matter what. Because at the end of the day, I always go back to this. Might be a little bit morbid and everything. It's like, all right, well, you know what? I'm gonna die one day. Like, what I'm not just gonna sit around and not do nothing, and I'm not gonna worry about if I make mistakes, because eventually it all goes away. So I'm just gonna do whatever I can for however long that I can while I'm here, to do as much as I can. And I still feel like, even though I'm starting to gain some traction in my writing and some other things that I got going on, I do have that mentality of, yes, I try to appreciate my accomplishments, but I always have that chip on my shoulder to say, all right, I've done nothing yet. Even though I know I have, and I take time to appreciate that, I still have that little chip that says, I don't feel like I've done anything yet. Like I haven't busted through, and I haven't, quote unquote, made it. And I don't know what that making it line looks like. I don't think I'll ever really, even as I grow and accomplish more, I don't think I'll ever get to that point where I'm like, all right, cool, I made it. I can sit back and relax. And I'm going to take time. I'm going to do things like we've been, we went out, we took a trip together. Now we're doing a little podcast on the way home from that trip. Like, I'm going to take time it's important to take time to step away from that. You can't always be in go mode. You absolutely have to take some time and relax and take a step away from it. I mean, that's just, just giving you got to take time to do those things. But I don't know, to really answer your question, I think that some of that stuff is just more in me that I don't realize, just because maybe I didn't ask enough questions. I feel like that's something that I don't do a very good job of, is asking my parents or asking other people around me that maybe had more experience with those people. Like, I should ask them, like, hey, I didn't really get a chance to ask them. Did you ever ask them this? Why they were so successful? Like, don't be afraid to ask questions, even if like in my head, like an older person or whatever, like they know they're old. Like, you don't want to just flat out come out and ask it. Maybe it feels rude to ask it, but what's wrong with asking them, like, hey, like, you've obviously lived a really long time. What's your key to success? What got you? How do you think you lived so long? Like, I think, we go, a lot of times we have questions in our head that we want to ask, but we're too afraid to ask it because we were worried about offending somebody in asking that question. But in reality, I think a lot of times we figure out that they're more than happy to talk about that, and then by them giving some of their knowledge to other people, they get a sense of joy out of that in helping others. It goes back to inspiring and uniting. I think people get a sense, at least I can speak for myself personally, I get a huge joy in when people ask me about, hey, this and this, and how did you do that? Or, and then it can help them, And I always go, that kind of goes back to, am I this, as they say, you don't ever want to be this, well, you can be the smartest person in the room.
Then you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, but then you're in the wrong room. But if you are the smartest person in the room, are you gatekeeping, or are you sharing that knowledge? Because I'm not afraid to just share what I do and how I did it, so to help other people. Yeah, sure. Somebody get on their own, and then maybe it's a competing writer or whatever. I'm not going to gatekeep that stuff. What I learn, I'm going to put out there for the rest of the world to learn, because I believe that competition breeds success. Whatever it is, even if you're in competition with me, I'm not maybe not going to reveal all my secrets, because that might hurt me in a certain aspect. Maybe not. But I feel like if I get somebody that's coming along that's competing with me in something, like that's driven me from a very, very young age, is competition. And truly, whenever I'm playing in a competition, we get a few weeks ago in a recreational competition where we make it to the championship game. Do I want to play a team that made it there by luck and maybe wasn't all that good? Not necessarily. The guy comes up to me, he's like, oh man, you're in the championship, we're going against you. I was like, yeah. And I'm thinking,
but wait,
I wouldn't want this any other way. I wouldn't want it any other way, because I know you're the best, and I want to beat you.
They knew we were the worst because we had already beaten them in the regular season and no one else had.
Right.
So they were probably a little intimidated with that question of, we're playing you? Oh.
Yeah, maybe, but
because we were the first ones that beat them in the regular season. They were used to being undefeated. Yeah. And we were newbies.
Right.
So they were a little mad.
Maybe. I mean, I don't really...
Well, their photos showed it.
Yeah. I mean, I get where you're coming from on that. I try not to really worry about or think about that, especially whenever I say that I want to play the best, but in reality, I'm just like, okay, you're next up. Let's go. I'm not really so much focused on who we're playing, and rather than just...
I can't even keep track of the teams.
One bocce ball at a time.
Teams.
One ball at a time. And that's it. And that's another cliche mentality too. But I mean, these things work. They are cliches for a reason, because they work. Whenever, how did you guys get to the championship? Oh, we took it one pitch at a time. We took it one game at a time.
How do you get to Broadway, sir? Practice.
Right. As an interviewer, man, that was tough. Whenever they gave you those cliche, back whenever I was in sportscasting, they gave you those cliche answers of one game at a time. Like, oh shoot, and if they give you a quick answer, you better be ready for your next question immediately, because if not, you're going to be like, so you better already have about 3 or 4 questions in your mind.
Point.
But then again, you don't want to have like 3 or 4 questions in your mind and then just ask them no matter what. You want to ask questions based on what they say. But yeah, if they give you 1 or 2 lines, then you better have at least a couple on backup, so you can go right into them to get to the next question. Because just interviewing pro tips, that you're going to run across that people that you interview where that's going to happen, where they're going to give you a little short answer, and you better be ready to give that next question out.
Because if you're waiting for them to give a longer response and you're not even listening because you're formulating your next question, you didn't even hear what they said, so you can't ask any interesting follow-up questions to it. I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, I think we all are certainly guilty of that, but I mean, that's what
I'm formulating my defense whenever I get corrected on something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that certainly can be a thing to where you're... Yep, and then that's how miscommunication happens, is because we're not listening, because then we're just trying to... You get in that fight mode of wanting to be right, and rather than understanding, and that's a key of why miscommunication happens. Yes, ma'am.
I think I want to add that another reason that in my family, we're talking about a company we've had since 1913, so it's well over 100 years, and for you, almost 64 years now. I think a common factor for both your grandma and my dad, their faith in the Lord.
Yeah,
I
faith
know
is
that
huge,
had
man.
something big to do with it. We were raised to go to church every week, and my dad had a very close and personal relationship to God that I wasn't really privy to. It was a private one because he was of that generation, but it was thick, and I think same with yours.
Yeah,
God
absolutely.
may have played a part in the success of the family businesses. I will venture to say that. That's my philosophy on that.
I totally agree with you. Absolutely.
I don't think they would have been as successful.
1,000%. But then it's like, when we say a lot of other people that are successful that, I don't know, but exactly per se, but, not everybody has faith, but then they're able to still be successful. And that just kind of seems kind of fascinating to me. I don't know. That's just a whole long drawn out thing that's just kind of mind boggling and kind of think about, like why certain things happen. Why are certain people luckier than other people and this and that. But I'm with you. I definitely think it helps. Absolutely helps 1,000%. To have faith. For us, yes, in God. But for other people, maybe it's faith. Whatever it is. They might have faith in something else. Maybe that gets them to wherever. But yeah, I think that having faith is definitely. That just goes back to not giving up too. Hey, I have faith that this is going to work out, no matter how hard, no matter how difficult it gets. I have trust in a higher power, a higher purpose. I know that I'm here for a reason.
He'll put us exactly where we're supposed to be.
Yep. And
right now, at this point in our lives, we're exactly where we're supposed to be. I do believe that.
Oh, and I not only do I believe it, I see it. I see it by certain actions, even the small things, and it goes back to what you were talking about, having a sense of humor. And maybe it's not even that funny, but...
Well, that's why we have senses of humor. We're in his image. Created in his image.
Right, but it goes back to... it's just kind of funny, like, we'll be talking about a certain thing, and then the next thing you know, here's this and that. And these are small things that if you're not really paying attention, they can slip right on by. But I've noticed more and more as the years go by, that as I pay attention more and more to those little small things of just the details of everything, and then we might be, I don't know, give little tiny examples, but it may seem stupid, but we're talking about something else, and then a certain song pops on, or we're talking about something, and then it may be totally unrelated, but then it's the same word, the same thing that was, even for instance on like a road sign or something, you're talking about something, or on a subject, and then you get up to the next road sign and it says something. Obviously that sign has nothing to do with what you were talking about, except other than the fact that you're in the right place at the right time, so you saw that on the sign that was exactly what you said as you're talking about something totally different. I don't know if that makes any sense or not.
Some of us call those God incidences.
Yeah,
they're not coincidences, they're God incidences, or a God wink is what they're called. God is winking at you by having you see that sign at the right time that you needed to see it.
Yeah. And I think that if we get off the wrong path, there's always a path back on the winding road. You might take a few wrong turns, you might get stuck in some traffic, but there's always a path back. If
Circumlocution, talking in circles, you eventually get back to the place where you started.
Yeah, and you just keep going down that winding road, man, and just if you stay focused on the more, as I like to say it, and have that faith that we are here for a reason and here for a purpose, that's going to allow you to not go off the road. It's going to allow you to keep your hands on the wheel, to know when to speed up, to know when to turn down, to know, I don't know if that was the right way. Yeah, to know all those different things that we're using as metaphors.
Know when to switch
life.
lanes.
All that stuff.
Stay in your lane.
All that stuff.
Stay in your lane.
Speaking of the road, and this is obviously going to be the longest podcast in the history of the Winding Road podcast.
Put some people to sleep.
So let's kind of wind down here a little bit, but we are on the Winding Road, and on our way back,
there's a wind down. We made the Winding Road.
Yes. We made a trip out to Colorado, and I just wanted to ask you, because you're a very well-traveled person. First off, and I know I'm going to ask you about your favorites, and I know you like to maybe not have favorites. just as I like to not necessarily have opinions, I like to try to examine things from all sides. I don't really try to have opinions. I don't really try to label stuff. So I want to get your philosophy on why you don't have favorites on a lot of the time.
Because I have too many things that give me joy. I don't want to leave anything out. I don't have favorites. I have things I like.
Mm-hmm.
Some things I like better than others, but there's not one thing in any one category except the God category, of course. I only am with the one God. But I don't want to pick a best. I don't want to leave something out that I also love maybe just as more or more.
So you think by having a favorite, like, you know, like for instance, I'm going to say like, I don't know, I like, oh, what do you like better, the mountains or the ocean or whatever?
I love both of them. They have equal validity.
Right. But from a philosophy standpoint, yeah. So if I say I like the mountains more, you're saying that by saying that, it maybe makes the ocean seem a little bit less, I guess.
There's just, I can't put anything second because they have, between them, it's apples and oranges, first of all.
Yeah.
There's things about an apple I love and an orange that I love, so why should I pick? I love them both.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's why I have several boyfriends.
Interesting philosophy you got going on there. All right, but I mean, okay, well, since you don't have a lot of favorites, what are
I don't have a favorite book, a favorite movie, I have favorite colors, a palette of colors. I can't pick one. That's crazy. They're all beautiful. Why would I don't get how people can have favorites. In fact, I'm against favorites.
I see.
Completely against it. I think
so
it's not right.
You're having the favorite of not having favorites.
My favorite is not to have a favorite. Yes. It's all I favorite them all.
All right. Well, what are some of your most well-liked states that you have been to? Have you been to all the states?
Pretty close, probably. I've even been to 51 and 52. But, 51 and 52.
We're in territories now? We're in territories. Puerto Rico,
Obama
Guam.
said there's 57, but no, 49 and 50.
Yeah, I got you.
But I believe Dad took us camping to most all of them, I believe.
So whenever you start to think about some of the cool places that you've been, what are a few that pop in your mind first? You see how I worded that differently, guys? What are a few that pop in your mind first?
Well, I mean, of course, any European cruise, because...
No, I'm just talking about states right now.
Oh, states.
If you don't mind.
We're in the in-state.
Because I love Colorado.
Okay.
We just got done visiting Colorado. I love the mountains. I think two of my favorite things are and they say this scientifically too. I've been reading a book. I'm going to forget the name of it.
Art and Your Brain.
Oh yes, you did notice me reading that. It's how art affects. That's not the name of it exactly. I'll try to remember to put it in the description.
Art on Your Brain. That's what it is.
Yeah, how art affects the brain and everything. But they say obviously nature is huge. You know that. You've been on the winding road with me. I'm a full believer in getting out in nature is a huge key to having joy and happiness.
Meliotherapy, it's called.
What is it?
Meliotherapy.
Okay. Well, in the book I've been reading, it's about the neural arts and the neural aesthetics of things. And they say within nature, flowing water and trees are the two biggest things. And we're talking about levels of nature here now, and the levels of endorphins and all the things that it creates in our brain, all that good stuff, dopamine, all that good stuff. They say flowing water in the forest or the trees. So for me, Colorado is right up there for me, because whenever we're traveling through the mountains and everything, and then I'm seeing the creeks and the little small rivers, and then the trees off of the mountains. Oh, it's just. Oh man, I get a little bit like, okay. People say you're, might be autistic or whatever, and I love all different spectrums of that and everything. Okay. Because I go like, I sound like I'm having a freaking orgasm or something. I'm like, oh man, look at that. Oh, that's so beautiful.
Okay. Colorado for me is one of my favorites only because
she said it. Sorry.
one of my favorites,
Uh-huh.
only because I come every couple months to see my whole family.
Right,
So of
right.
course I'm going to favorite it, but also because I've come here since I was a child. My dad took us out to learn to ski.
Yeah.
So he took us to the Colorado Rockies, which is the quintessential American skiing experience. So aside from that, I'd say Hawaii is up there.
Haven't
as
been
well.
there yet. Want to go.
Hawaii.
Trying to play disc golf in all 50 states. That's still on the list. Yeah.
And Florida, because we built so many
Big
memories.
fan.
Our family went there every Easter for 23 years. So it's important because we built so many memories there.
Yeah, I love North
We
Carolina.
created so many memories.
Spent a lot of time in North Carolina. Love me some North Carolina. I do love the ocean, don't get me wrong, and nature. I love all the aspects of nature. You know, for instance, it's like driving out here to Colorado. I remember, we went on a couple trips to Colorado now. First time I going through Kansas, and I'm kind of just half joking, but I'm like, boring. It's all flat and whatever, and you're quick like it's not, and then you went into
plateaus.
Yeah, and then you went into all these different things and why this is great, and hey, we need this farmland that feeds America.
Sunflower fields.
Yeah. And so
it's my goodness, the wheat, the golden wheat that these farmers grow all this to feed the planet.
Yeah, if you look for it hard enough, I think everything in nature
you can find
has
beauty anywhere.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could find it in an inner city where it stinks like what.
As long as you wear a nose plug.
And there's rats. You can still. There's beauty to be found there. You just have to look hard enough.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So, what about? So I'm with you. Colorado's up there. Florida. I really like Michigan a lot. Michigan. I love the Great Lakes,
there's some
man.
great skiing up in the Upper Peninsula.
Yeah.
And
tried skiing one time. I didn't do too bad. I didn't think.
Those forests are great.
Yeah.
That's where they also grow a lot of cherries in Michigan.
Utah, love Utah. Zion National Park.
Yeah.
You get a chance to go there. Oh man, fantastic. Well, you're obviously a lot more well traveled than me. I'm trying to get there and go on different places. I'm getting there. But what about different countries? Sadly, I've yet to go anywhere else. But you have had a lot of experience in several different countries. What's some of your most well-liked countries and coolest places you've been to?
I would say the coolest countries I've been to are the ones people hear about, and they in their mind instantly is exotic and foreign. And so those countries on a cruise, this is how it's best to travel an array of countries, is on a cruise ship. It's like a smorgasbord. So one day you're in the country of Estonia, which you may not have even heard of, and it has the greatest example of the largest medieval city, fortified city on the planet. And it's like you're in some sort of fairy tale when you're there. And I said to myself when I was there, and I was there for maybe a day and a half we stayed, we may have overnighted at the port on that one. I was like, I would come here in the summer for 6 weeks and live here in town, because it's by myself. I felt that strongly, and I don't like to be by myself. I'm a people person. I took a personality test. I'm very what's it called? Where you like to be around people. I forget.
Extrovert?
No. Where you like to be around people.
Yeah, extrovert, right? No, different word.
Being
That's all I got.
That's just how you portray yourself, extrovert.
Oh, social? Socialite?
No.
Oh, we're on a word hunt.
No, I'm not thinking about it because I was going on with my thoughts.
Oh, go ahead.
But you were
stuck
on that.
I'm a writer. I get stuck on words. Go ahead.
You do. Well, because I like to be around people, I didn't want to probably go by myself there over the summer to live in the little medieval town, which would have been cool. But anyway, so when you're on a cruise, you can experience these 5 different countries in a week. And then you can decide which one you like best and then have a larger vacation there if you want. But besides Estonia would be another country called Malta, which is not far from Sicily, which is part of Italy.
Yes.
And that's an amazing fortressed country where one of their main sports was falconry. It's where falconry where you have falcons and you race falcons and homing pigeons, things like that. So falconry is something the citizens are greatly involved in, and the whole island of Malta gets involved in it. Each house had a ginormous 30-foot flagpole because most every person there is so patriotic. So each person's house is equipped with a gigantic steel flagpole with the flag of Malta flying, because they are patriotic people like we are. But maybe even more so. They're pretty patriotic with those falcons. So then I thought that was very interesting. So I guess that's what catches me, is the interest of these countries, how interesting they are, and the people and the culture.
Yeah, thanks.
So I would say another one was Montenegro.
Okay.
And that used to be Serbia, I believe. Part of it was Serbia before the war. And the country is now called Montenegro.
Yep.
And so that was one of my favorites. Then in the last cruise, we went to Spain and some other islands, but the Canary Islands, that was interesting. And that's not far from South America. Or no, I'm sorry, Africa, the Canary Islands. Portugal, where I learned that their industry involves sardines and cork. They had cork forests where cork comes from, which is waterproof. And they have things made of cork, like shoes and umbrellas and purses and wallets, because they're waterproof, really cool.
Yeah.
And just beautiful people. And I'd say Scandinavia, which is made up of Denmark and Sweden and Norway and Finland. Finland was an extremely interesting country. I had reindeer balls.
Reindeer balls, huh?
Yeah. So
I don't know.
I just love learning languages is a big thing for me. And whenever you're on a cruise and you step off the ship, know at least some basics. Thank you, please. Good morning. How are you? And just learn a few basics, and they will smile so big when you try to use their language. So, again, that's part of enlarging your territory. Human beings, and even if they don't speak your language, guess what? They speak the human language of love.
Right. I feel like too.
Universal language of love.
Yeah. I feel like whenever you're talking about greetings and learning them, I feel like most people now. That's a bad way to put that, but you go there. It'd be really easy for me to just pick up my phone and use the phone to translate. And then obviously that's very helpful.
Very common too.
Very common and very helpful. But I do still feel like if you're just getting off and you don't have to look at it, but you can say hello and please and thank you, they're going to have that much more of an appreciation.
Yes.
Or maybe they're going to think you entirely speak their language, because otherwise why don't you have out a
they take one look at you and they know you're an American tourist.
They know, yeah, they know.
Also know the phrase how much.
Yes.
If you're shopping, you need to know, and also know the currency.
Does everybody know that? Do they think they know that? Oh, how much?
Everyone know. No, it's not the same in every
universal.
language.
Not universal.
Like in France, if you say, I want one banana, they'll give you two, because that's your second finger. So you need to know the ways of the people in that particular region, wherever you are. It's good to know what to do when in Rome.
Now, I mean, obviously it helps to look at pictures and everything before you go, because you want to know what's going on. But for me, especially when I'm picking out disc golf courses, I will look at them for the most part, but it's kind of like looking at a movie preview. Whenever I'm doing a movie preview, I don't want to watch the whole trailer, because by the end of it, they've given me too much information that's going to kind of take away from my experience from the movie. Like they give away spoilers or whatnot, even though they're not trying to give it away. They just give too much away of the storyline. I like that. The mystery, the intrigue of different places and different things. So I don't really like to look at too much, or if we're going on a certain hike or whatever, I'll look at a few pictures, but then I'll just stop myself. I don't even really know why I started talking about that, but as you were talking, it kind of reminded me of just my philosophy on going different places and everything. Keep the mystery, keep the mystery alive a little bit too, guys, because we can use the technology and everything to our benefit, but we go way too far of it. And I'm not talking about, doom scrolling on social media. I'm just talking about even when we're using it as a tool. I still feel like, okay, but I'm going to keep a little bit of that mystery of not knowing exactly, because all the information is out there all the time now. But, I could ask ChatGPT, I could ask, especially as AI becomes more and more prevalent, absolutely, we can go right to our phones, access that information. But I think there's something also to be said about, just talking to people and asking people. I think we've lost a lot of that as society has gone along, where we're probably going to get more accurate information from asking our phones, sure, but it takes away from that human connection.
Well, like we were camping, and in our campsite there was more than one trail to the lake.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say, pop up a map, guys.
Right.
But then
ask your phone.
My brother-in-law
Nothing wrong with that.
saw another camper and asked her.
Yeah.
And then they gave us the directions.
Oh, what do you know?
Oh my God.
What if they would have led us the wrong way? Not to say that the AI can't
Then we
screw
would have
up
said
too.
we're going to need to use our phones
Yeah.
next time, because these people are completely incompetent.
Yeah.
They're inaccurate. People are, for the most part.
And another thing I want to end on this note is, you like to go to, and whenever we are going to different places, it's like, I can see I'm like a variety is the spice of life, and I know you like to go different places and stuff too, but it's like, okay, I don't want to go, like, all right, I've been there, I want to go see something else. But you like to go along with the mindset of, hey, let's go back there, well, let's go in a different season this time.
Exactly, because there's 4 different seasons, and this hiking area is gonna look different every time.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it does, because the seasons change, and so does the entire setting.
Yeah, it's just
It
like,
really
and then
does.
while you're there too, you're seeing it for what it is then, and you're also remembering what it was like being there in the summer. So some pleasant memories are coming back. You're not too focused in the past, but you are kind of thinking about a little bit like how it was then, and then how it is now. We stay focused on what we're trying to do, but it's okay to peek back, to take a glance back of what you've done, what went wrong. Obviously, I'm talking philosophy now, using the nature as a metaphor of what went wrong, what went right. But you can't just always be looking in the rearview mirror. You can glance at it, see what's going on. Definitely check out what's going on, but keep your eyes focused on what you're doing now. Live in the eternal now. Glance a little bit to the past, glance a little bit to the future, but most of your focus should be what you're doing right now, in this moment. And in this moment, I want to say thank you, Darcy, for being our first ever guest on the Winding
It was an
Road
honor.
podcast.
Thank you.
You've watched a few of these things, and I appreciate that. So you may or may not remember how we like to sign off,
I think
as
I
they
do.
say in the biz. But I'm me,
And you're you.
and you're you. I'm me, you're you. Yeah.
I'm me. You're you.
Yeah. Okay.
And we are
Each other. Love.
Inspire.
Unite. God
Thank you.
bless.
God bless.
Thank you.